Dr. Miller here. And this one's for you, Mickey. So, the reason why I want to see your labs and I want to explain something because your medical doctor is not telling you that it is normal or they're looking at your labs and they're telling not telling you anything because it's not out of range. And that's what they do. They look for stuff that is broken. And so what we really need to take a moment for is to look at how does a lab get its value. And so let me switch over here and add that. And so when a lab does its testing, a God did not give us a book that says these are what the normal lab values should be. These are optimal. These are suboptimal. This is too much. This is too little, whatever the case may be. Laboratories don't have that, like LabCorp and stuff like that. Now, as time goes on, and people like myself and others who are quote unquote healthy are getting labs done, they can start to add or average in those things. But to begin with, they drew a line, and let's say it's blood sugar. So we're going to measure blood sugar. And what they did was they did, you know, Ben's reading and Trevor's reading and Jessica's reading and Sally and Sue and blah, 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 blah. And they plotted all of these numbers all over this graph from 0 to 250, let's say. And so they go through and they look at all of these things. You got a couple outliers here and a couple outliers there. And once they get all of these values, once they got everything in here, then they said, where is 90% of our dots or values? Where are 90% of the dots or values? They're right here. So that is what becomes the normal. And so then they will give us 2 standard deviations above and 2 standard deviations below. And this is now what is normal. So here's a question I pose to you. If that's normal, who goes to the hospital or to the doctor? Typically, people are going to the hospital and they're going to the doctor when they're sick, when they feel ill, when they're not optimal. We don't get optimal checkups. People don't go in for their, oh, I feel great typically. Now, some people are starting to, but our history of values says no. And so then what happens is we are normal for a sick population. And what that does is that skews health. And one way that skews health is, let's take the value of a liver enzyme. And this liver enzyme that we're going to take the value of is ALT. And ALT, when it's high, is a sign that we have fatty liver. This used to be a sign of alcoholism. Now, sugar, in particular fructose, has now taken over what is actually, sugar has taken over liver transplants over alcohol. So alcohol used to be what caused us to have fatty liver. Now it's sugar, fructose in particular, actually sodas. And so ALT back in the 1950s, let's say, used to be, you wanted it to be less than 20. My pen's not writing well. So in the 1950s, it was, you wanted that value to be less than 20. Now they continue to average these things all the time. So as healthy people go get labs and do things, we should see these get better and better. So what we're going to see is, but we want it to be less than 20. And what we're seeing now is in the year of 2021, normal is less than 40. Just as a challenge and to prove a point, go look in the history books, go Google, um, just for giggles, go Google Woodstock and look at the pictures of Woodstock and look at the people at Woodstock. Their body type, their phenotype is not the same as ours is. And if you go look at the things for people that are going to, Woodstock of today's age, our people are a lot more obese. They're a lot more healthy. By all standards of measure, we are less healthy now than we were 30 years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And so that's why it's very important that people smarter than me have picked out these optimal levels that I and other doctors like myself go by. And so that's why you don't want to be in the normal range. You want to hit an optimal range. And thank you for your time. Thank you for taking this time to look into the health of you and your loved ones. This broadcast does not constitute a doctor patient relationship. It is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a replacement or substitute for care. If you are having issues, please seek a qualified professional trained in functional medicine. We would be happy to be of assistance with both in person and virtual consultations. Thank you.